What's up, friends? Welcome to Web3 Academy, a place for entrepreneurs, creators, and marketers to explore and learn how to use Web3 to transform business models and create thriving communities. Enjoy this next episode.
Welcome to Web3 Academy. You're here on the weekly spotlight. Super excited to be here. See everybody in Discord, see everybody on the podcast. As always, I'm Jay Hamilton, and I'm here with my fellow host, Kyle Reedhead. Today, we've got an awesome guest that we're super excited to have on board with us, Devin Sawyer. Devin is the ex-marketing executive from a traditional finance background, over 2 decades of experience in digital marketing and commerce expertise. And then, as many of us, he made the move, full-time Web3, founding some different projects, building some communities. I'll just give you a couple quick highlights before I pass it over to you, Devin. You can obviously do a much better job than I can. But he's part of the Defiant team, one of the largest crypto newsletters, over 100,000 subscribers across all their platforms. There, he built a referral and NFT reward system. So we'll dive into that today. Excited to hear more about that. He also cut his teeth in the DAO world, working at Bankless DAO. So we'll chat a little bit about his experience in DAOs and Bankless DAO. And then most recently, he launched a new project, new NFT project called Legends of Cypher. And so we'll dive into that. And I think you have a couple other projects on the go too, Devin. You're a man of many, many things. So excited to hear about all these different things and where you're going. So welcome to the show, Devin.
Great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We're excited for you to be here. Glad to have you, Devin, and glad to have another Bankless DAO member on the podcast today. Shout out to Bankless DAO. You guys are legends.
Yeah. Awesome.
So why don't you walk us through, Jay just kind of gave a good intro, I guess, but if there's anything else you want to add, just to add a little bit more meat to the story, feel free to walk us through a bit of your background and your journey with Web3.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, like most of us went down the rabbit hole. For me, it was right about the start of the pandemic, started finding a little extra time working from home and spending it all in the crypto space. Was totally skeptical in the beginning. And then, for me, it was Raoul Paul, he wrote a piece about what he called the Bitcoin being the life raft. And so that intrigued me, and I dug deep and was kind of like shocked and amazed to find out that an entirely new, that crypto wasn't so much just a currency that was operating on the internet that was really cool and smart. It was literally a new financial system being developed from the ground up that enabled self-sovereign ownership of your assets. And that blew my mind. So, I worked, I had an amicable departure from the bank I was at. So I left and moved on to spend my full time in Web3. Yeah, so that was kind of the story. Landed in the Bankless DAO first. So I was a subscriber to the Bankless community. That's where I was doing a lot of my research. And then when the DAO opened, I was attracted to it mainly because I was hearing about DAOs at the time. But most of what I was hearing about DAOs was really development-based DAOs. And this was one of the first media DAOs. It may have actually been one of the first media DAOs. Certainly the first I had heard of.
Did you get the airdrop as a subscriber to Bankless?
No, you know what? I missed it. I had to buy it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried every which way from Sunday to get a sneak in. But dude, you're just going to have to buy a bank. So I bought my bank and hopped in. It was worth it.
Yeah. So for the listeners here that don't know Bankless DAO, so Bankless is one of the clients that we work with at our marketing agency, and they had built up a big subscriber base, and they basically just airdropped all of their paid subscribers tokens, and that token was the access into Bankless DAO, which ended up, I think now it's one of the biggest DAOs that there are. There's thousands of people in it. They've got a bunch of products that they're creating, just trying to onboard people into crypto. Really, really cool what Bankless DAO is doing. So check them out. But yeah, walk us through your little journey there in Bankless DAO.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was complete chaos. So it was right. I was in there the first couple of weeks, and I know, Kyle, you were kind of watching things as they went. I remember I jumped into the marketing DAO, being the marketing guild. So it was pretty interesting because they organized around sort of traditional functions like marketing, at a writers guild, education guild, all these different guilds, which kind of sounded like a corporate structure, but there was still no hierarchy. So it was total chaos from the way everyone was trying to figure out how to work together. And what I found beneficial, the value I could bring was just a little bit of sense of what, you know, corporate structure could be, but also, you know, not being a fan of the hierarchical side of the corporate structure. So, you know, somewhere in between there is sort of where we landed, where we had these functional guilds operating toward the same mission, vision, and goals. That was where we started, was really land the mission, vision, goals, make sure everyone understood on the same page. But then it was really driving work out of the guild. So I ended up kind of taking a leadership role for the marketing guild, which was largely just creating space for people to figure out what we wanted to be as a marketing team, hosting weekly meetings, hosting conversations, taking notes, putting a little bit of structure and guidance around what we could be doing. And while I was there, you know, we found some great people. We launched a pretty well scaled social media program. We onboarded a whole bunch of talent to start doing tweets. We started a TikTok channel. So it was, you know, it was exciting because what we did in 3 months was more than what most organizations could do in a year. And all the guilds, from what I could tell, were kind of moving at the same pace, all finding themselves, growing at the same time, but maintaining connectivity and collaboration across. So as much as there was chaos, it was, you know, that kind of chaos that was sparking a lot of really, really cool creative work. And I think what got really interesting, my favorite story was the use of coordinate. So when you think of, you know, the bonus structure where I came from, was all based on your level and your performance. And your performance was decided based on the hierarchy. Who above you says how well you perform relative to whatever they saw and what feedback they gathered. We did we did a test on Coordinate. I don't know if they still use it. I hope they do, because I thought it was brilliant. But what it allowed us to do was allow everyone in the Discord that was participating in the DAO to indicate through, like, everyone got 100 likes, if you will, and then you could assign so many likes. So, you know, a guy like Frog Monkey, I would give 10 likes. He's been great. Everyone gave these likes out. And then the bonus pool of bank was distributed through the voting, which was really powerful, me being an executive, because, you know, I was compensated for my so-called leadership of my team, but I was evaluated on my leadership of my team, not by my team. Whereas this entire Coordinate process evaluated the leaders based on a flat hierarchy, based on how people felt other people were helpful in the Discord. And that for me was like, okay, this is like game changing. Eventually, that is how corporations work. There's no reason that if I'm a VP of 100 people in a unit, that my bonus shouldn't be tied to whether or not they think I added value to their lives and their work. So for me, that was a huge eye opener, was the way we utilize Coordinate for distributing a bonus pool.
I remember seeing the Coordinate as well, and I thought it was an incredible way, because then they drew up, I don't know if you saw the picture where they made like some like map where it had everyone's like faces or whatever,
yeah.
or PFPs, and it was like showing who voted to who and how much went to these people. It was really, really cool. And it's also cool as it's open and transparent, so everyone can see like who's getting what, who did all the work and stuff. So it's actually really interesting. Can you just walk us through, you said you're part of the marketing guild. How big was that? So how many people were in this guild? And like on the other guilds, what are the sizes like? And then what other tools did you guys use to stay organized and structure?
Yeah. So when I was there was probably, I would see anywhere between 8 to 12 people in the marketing guild weekly meeting. And then, so they were generally the same group active. So yeah, I'd say it would average about 10 in the marketing guild, design guild, writers guild, similar numbers. Again, I finished up with them back in August, so I'm sure they've evolved and have many more people than that. I can talk to the tools. So we got to the point where, you know, we were testing out compensation structures. We were tipping. So, you know, tip bank That was very powerful way to reward our colleagues instantly. You know, we would offer a bounty like, hey, if somebody could write this piece, here's, you know, I'll tip you 500 back, that sort of thing. But then we got multi-sig wallets. So what was really cool was every guild got a budget, and we all set up a multi-sig wallet, and then we all got distributed back so that we could remunerate our teams for the work they did in the guild. And that was just simply a distribution of the bank token to the multi-sig wallet. But other than that, you know, the Notion was where we, you know, was our primary wiki for the day-to-day communications, and then Discourse we used for proposals. So some of those standard things. And the team was like the development Discord. I think they had like 35 people strong, and they were actually all going through Solid. So they facilitated Solidity training for everybody. So they had 35 people going through Solidity training. So pretty powerful. And they were building a lot of stuff like bots into the Discord that facilitated automated onboarding. Quite an exceptional, like if there isn't a case study written about it already, there should be, because what they've done and tested, and certainly in the 3-4 months I was there, was quite a bit. And I know they've evolved a lot since.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. I mean, I don't know how many people were in the DAO when it first launched, but it was in the thousands, I think.
Yeah.
And you're right, it was absolute mayhem in the beginning, but like I feel like it pretty quickly started to get organized and structured, and like I don't know, now they've built a bunch of products, and they're developing apps, I think. Like I don't know, are you still involved? Like, do you know where they're at now with all this,
I'm
how
not.
it's turned out?
No, I'm not involved to the degree that I would know what I know what they were building, and they've likely launched. So we started redesigning the website. I think that's launched. We were building an onboarding program. Yeah, we launched the BED index. We partnered with Index Co-op and launched BED, which was Bitcoin, Ethereum, and DeFi index fund. That was pretty cool. We launched that while I was there. We partnered with the Index Co-op team and ran a campaign on that. So yeah, it was that was about it.
A couple of threads I just want to pull a little bit more on here that I think are really interesting. And so I'll present them both, and then we can take them one at a time. One that I think is really interesting is you said that you were amazed at how much got done in a short period of time. And a lot of the DAO members that we talk about that it's not always the case, right? Often DAOs are actually quite slow. There's a lack of leadership, a lack of decision making, really, when you have that many people involved. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that speed that you mentioned, and maybe maybe to pull a little bit more on that. It sounds like it's this setup of like these guilds, and I'm curious if you have this guild set up, which obviously allows more productivity at a small team level. How did that also ensure that there was some sort of vision at like the higher level, and that these guilds weren't just going in their own direction? So that's one thread. And let me just present the other one, and then you can take one at a time. The other one I think is really interesting is you're one of the few people that's left a DAO that we've talked to. Most people we've talked to are either, and most of our listeners, I think, are interested in joining a DAO, or looking to join a DAO. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your story of why you decided to leave and what made you make that decision. And that might be a nice transition into what happened next for you.
Yeah. So I think structure did play a part. It was interesting because when we jumped in, Frog Monkey, I'm sure you guys, Kyle, you might remember Frog Monkey. He was probably like, I'd say the key thing that in a DAO for
Jay is probably wondering, like, what is a frog monkey?
I know. Okay, so frog monkey is
these anon names are just. How can we not? How do you say that with a straight face? Come on.
He's been a friend for so long. It's like it rolls off the tongue. Like it's for me, frog monkey's like saying David. Like it's not. Frog monkey is a pseudo anonymous fellow who is an anon like many others in crypto. He just emerged as a as a leader. You know, just really taking accountability and ownership for the overall structure and organization. He was really good at, like, for me, for example, you know, he saw me chatting around, you know, I was just trying to find my way and saying things. And he just said, hey, you know, we could really use your help getting aligned on the mission and vision. Can you join a call? So I joined a call with some folks. We got really behind vision and mission. And then we sort of spent some time promoting just vision and mission for like 2-3 weeks, just to make sure that that was stated clear, was built into the onboarding so that people coming in knew who, what, where, why, and how, to a degree. So, you know, moving from Frog Monkey to others, you know, it was really individual leadership. You know, some people that left the DAO, I heard would say, you know, it was kind of felt centralized with this smaller group of people, but yeah, I don't know that that's centralization. I think that that's just leadership. You can be in a decentralized organization and have people emerge, you know, be called to the task of doing the hard work. Like, leadership is freaking hard, man. So, you know, it's an unforgiving task at times. And just, we were lucky that we had a number of them. Like, every guild had a really strong leader, in a lot of cases, a backup leader. So, you know, for me, there was a guy who was extremely helpful with me when I was leading the marketing guild. And then when I left, there was no one felt we missed a beat, because Koros was his name, just kept, Grendel was his name, kept the ship running, right? So it was really, I'd say it was the leadership that emerged in the DAO first, and then the structure second. So I'd say, yeah, you need good leaders, people willing to step up, do the hard work, put the time in, to make sure that other people are taken care of and know what to do and how to operate in the DAO. And then, yeah, a good functional structure, I think, is really important, because you can get a lot of scale if teams focus on certain areas of subject matter expertise. And then, you know, a guy like Frog Monkey, you know, he didn't lead one specific guild, but he sort of played a role in connective tissue across the guilds. He was a guy that was worrying about how people collaborate across guilds and making sure that we don't become our own silos, which, you know, can easily happen too. So yeah, I'd say leadership first, structure second, and then cross structure collaboration would be the goal.
And so was there a team or I mean, it wouldn't be a guild, but like, was there anybody, you know, you mentioned Frog Monkey kind of was across all, like, was there a higher level leadership meeting happening?
Yeah, eventually we evolved, and it basically became like the treasury group. So the overall treasury group became kind of that leadership guild that saw across. They were accountable for distributing funds to the guilds. They were accountable for approving proposals at the highest level that the guilds would all need to support. And they would distribute funding to the guilds in addition to their guild funding. They get additional funding as required to support the main projects that were approved by this treasury group. So, I mean, it starts to look and smell like a hierarchy, but the compensation structure is not based on a traditional organization. That's what I really like about it. Similar to Coordinate, where people recognize the leaders. None of these individuals could have got to that position if they weren't like good functional members of the DAO to begin with. They had to emerge as leaders in order to be seen as viable candidates for that, because basically it was a consensus mechanism that everyone agreed that these individuals would be the right ones to fit. So, you know, I think they had like 20, 30 people put their hand up to try and be part of this higher order treasury management team, but the community voted for the ones that we wanted. So, you know, I guess it's a democracy then, you know, is really what was happening. It was a democratic hierarchical process. So
what's interesting though is it's not like they voted in, now they're that for like the next 4 years or something, like a presidential election, right? It's like they can get voted out anytime. So it's like, it is sort of hierarchy, but it's also like, it's kind of a combination of a lot of things, and it can all happen in real time, which I think makes it better, right? Yeah,
100%. Yeah, it is. It's very organic that way.
Right. And I think what's also cool is, like you said, it wasn't like this all started with just an airdrop of tokens to thousands of people that just had the same same interests, right? They were just subscribed to a newsletter. So they all were interested in Bankless or in crypto, but most people didn't know each other. It just all of a sudden we all just joined in and it was like, okay, let's start seeing who's doing stuff and then let's vote them in. And then if they fall off, let's vote someone else in. So it's very fluid, I think, which is to me, I think that's the best thing. Just to give people some context, this launched in, I think it was May of 2021, Bankless DAO. It is a valueless token, so it was worth nothing. And then today it's worth a market cap of $8 million, the DAO. When we were in like the bull market back in, I think like November, it went up to 40 or $45 million market cap in like, what is that, 8 months or 7 months or something like that, not even. That's just incredible to me.
Yeah.
So when did you begin to exit out of Bankless DAO?
Yeah, it was in the summer. So I think August, by September, I was fully exited. It was partly because I was also hanging out in the Defiant Discord. And I got to know Cami and I really got to appreciate the work she was doing. And I was a big fan of her book. And so I was sort of helping out there. And then she had a role open up for growth. So she was going to hire a head of growth. And I applied, but didn't apply. I sent basically a message saying, hey, I'd love to help you out with growth. I'm not looking to take a full-time gig. So she asked if I would just join the team and help. So it became a kind of a paid consultation sort of gig. And I just didn't feel I could do both really well. And I had a great time at Bankless DAO, and I knew for sure that, they were in great hands. So I took the opportunity to go over to Defiant, and I've been working there for Cami on a part-time basis ever since.
That's awesome. So can you walk us through, first, I guess, maybe just to explain to some people what Defiant is for those who don't know, and then maybe just give us a rundown of what you've been working on with them.
Cool. Yeah, so Defiant, similar to Bankless, they started out as a newsletter. So Cami started a newsletter on crypto. She was a Bloomberg analyst, was covering crypto at Bloomberg, kind of part-time. And I think she actually approached them and asked if, and suggested that they have a desk for it. And they weren't at the time ready to dedicate anyone to crypto yet. They have now, but at the time they weren't. She was well ahead of the game. So, she started off on this journey with a pretty basic newsletter, and grew it from there, to multimedia news, journalistic integrity for sure. That's their number one ethos, is they really, want to maintain that they're really unbiased. Cami will say, unbiased about crypto, but biased for crypto. So, believes decentralized finance is the way of the future, but is not biased to any one protocol, project, platform, blockchain, whatever. So, I really appreciated that. And she had some really strong vision about where she wanted to take the organization. So I jumped in. She needed help with growth. She wanted to launch a referral campaign, traditional Web2 email referral campaign for the newsletter. But she also had ideas for an NFT reward system. So we actually partnered with Viral Loops, which would be your Web 2.0 email referral provider. And we partnered with Galaxy, which was an NFT provider, and MetaFactory, because we wanted to have the NFTs have utility so you could redeem them for physical merchandise. So my job was to lead a project to build this as a capability, working across these four partners, if you will: Defiant, Galaxy, Viral Loops, and MetaFactory. And so, we basically, used the infrastructure or the out-of-the-box solution for Viral Loops. So that's how we got, people, our existing subscribers, to get their own unique referral code, refer other people. And then every time you got a referral, we were counting that in the back end. And when you got 5 referrals, that got you the friend of the Defiant NFT. And if you got 10 referrals, you got the ambassador. There was 3 levels of ambassador keys, throw to the J key. I forget them now, but Ready Player One was the kind of throw to. And then, yeah, so in each level had different, you know, for the first one, you could redeem at Meta Factory for a Defiant mug, hat, hoodie, all the way up to really dope bomber jacket, actually. So it was, and the cool thing about it was it's an immutable reward system. So, you know, as I reach each level, you know, our future plans were not only to allow you to redeem for cool Defiant merchandise, but it could be more utility. So, you know, if you were, you know, you reached 100 referrals and you were a Defiant one, we would have different rewards or different access. You know, you might get your paid subscription for free. So it was something that we built so that it could scale and to be a Web3 reward system because of the NFT infrastructure behind it. Not without its challenges for sure. You know, trying to make I called it like a Web 2.5 bridge that always felt like it had a crack in it somewhere. But it worked. The team's still managing it, running it today. It's really still running as a beta. Like we launched it as a beta, really to beg for forgiveness from our customers because, you know, we didn't know how well this would work. We knew we'd have problems. So it still runs today as a beta, in fact. But you know, once they build kind of, you know, better pipes between the three partners, I think it's something that can really scale a referral to NFT reward system.
So is it not fully, I guess you could say automated or integrated right now? Like, did you have to do some manual stuff to allow this to work?
Yeah, there's a lot of manual back-end activity required to, because you've got to use the viral loop system. The power of them is they've got a great fraud detection system that allows you to get clean referrals, but that's a manual effort to manage that. Then you've got to approve the good referrals versus the bad ones. Then that goes to one system, and then Galaxy team will read that file and say, okay, these are the whitelisted. Then the user can go claim the NFT. Then once you claim the NFT, you get a unique code that you can go redeem at Meta Factory, and you take the NFT there. So yeah, hence beta. You know, we had
right.
You know, we had some loops. We had like it was like a 5-page user guide to get through the process, but you know, the community loved it. You know, when
I was going to ask, what did it?
That's what I was. Yeah,
they loved it.
Yeah. Did they get feedback and stuff? Like, what did they say? What did they say they liked about it, other than it's probably complicated?
It was complicated. Doesn't always work. Sometimes I'm slow to get my approval. You know I got fucked because, you know, Viral Loops would tell me I got my 5 referrals, yet I go to the Galaxy site and I can't claim it yet. And that was simply time lapse between somebody giving the approval and the individual reaching 5 referrals. So, you know, typical kind of time delay sort of complaints. And then some people just, you know, get caught up in the fraud system. Because if you're a Web3 person and maybe a coder and developer, you've got all kinds of things going on in your machine. And then, you know, the viral loop system gets a little worried and might flag you as fraud when you're not.
Right.
So, you know, some of those kind of challenges, but the learnings were significant. So I know the team's going to take those, and I know Meta Factory, Viral Loops, and Galaxy all continue to talk. So I'm sure they're building APIs or connectors to automate this for the future. So it was exciting to be a part of it.
That's super cool. Was there anything that stood out on the positive side? Like, we talked about what didn't work. Anything that you're saying did work, or was it just people liked it because it was new and it was like it was an NFT, so it's kind of cool? But was there anything it did?
I think the instant reward of the NFT was powerful, as much as we had that time delay. You know, if it was synced up well, it was pretty neat that, you know, as soon as you hit the 5th referral, you're claiming and minting your own NFT for it. And then that NFT, knowing that being an immutable artifact on your wallet, you can instantly redeem it at Meta Factory for merch. And then just as an organization, knowing and trusting the way that the non-fungible token, all tokens work, just knowing that once the client had that, was that we could add rewards to that in the future. We could build on that. So it was really exciting from that perspective. And the NFTs looked really cool. Like, we had really neat designs, and everyone was excited about that. So
was the NFT made in a way like a POAP, where it wasn't, you're not able to like send it or sell it, or is it one that like could actually accrue some sort of value?
Yeah, you could sell it. Yeah.
Interesting. See, that's one of the cool features of it all, right? Is like, yes, you can claim it for, I don't know, a mug, or maybe you don't want the mug, but someone else does. So you can also just like sell it, right? That's what Web2 doesn't offer. So I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what about the results on any boost that you saw to subscribers to the Defiant? Was it an effective program in that way?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to measure because there was so much fraud to wade through and understand. But overall, yeah, we were putting on a pretty good push there. You know, I think we went from 40 to 55. Like I think we added 15,000 subs. I mean, with our normal organic growth rate, it's hard to separate that from the total.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw definitely some growth.
Interesting. And I don't know if you guys, like if the team talked at all, but just curious, like, where do you go with that next, or where might they go with that next? Did any ideas come up? Just if listeners are thinking about doing this, I'm just wondering, like, where can you go and continue to build value back to the community?
Yeah. We wanted to add, like, bring more utility to it from the perspective of, because not everybody, you know, could get 15 referrals or 20, or let alone 50 referrals. So our idea was, what we wanted to do was build sort of participation mechanism. So, you know, run a Discord analysis on people that were active in various in the Discord, and maybe give them a friend of the Defiant NFT. Right, here's 5 equal to 5 referrals. Go ahead and mint. Thank you for all of your conversation and contribution and providing subject matter expertise in the Discord, or using POAPs. So we would give POAPs out if you join jam sessions, community calls. The next plan was allow for, if you collected 5, you know, maybe every participation POAP was equal to a referral. So you know, we would work with Galaxy, and then 5 POAPs could be converted to a referral NFT. So yeah, we had the vision of that it would be, the NFT would be a reward system for all the behaviors that we wanted to see from our community, not just referrals for growth.
Yeah, I can imagine it being useful for surveying or customer feedback as well. If you wanted to, you know, that's something that everybody's always looking for. And it's tough to reward people for that, right? Other than the classic, like you could win a $50 Amazon gift card is, I feel like the Web2 way of doing that.
The examples like that are exactly the types of things we could do.
Interesting. So now you're working on your own NFT project, or maybe it's even more than one. Why don't you, unless you have anything else you want to add about what you did with Defiant, I would love to hear kind of where you're at now and what you're building up.
Yes. Well, finish off so Defiant right now, I do sponsorship and partnership. So folks want to pay for sponsoring Defiant, I manage that program. And then I support partnerships. So, you know, when people want to come and, you know, a lot of conferences want to just cross promote, you know, we do some of that. Anytime there's strategic ideas that, you know, there might be a win-win situation with another Web3 organization, I'll negotiate and work through those opportunities. And then, I've also, so the Legends of Cypher is an NFT project that I've been in. I actually met the folks that I work with in the Bankless DAO. It was actually our writer in the project was kind of writing some narrative about this idea he had for a story that would be really a futuristic scientific story about a fellow named Hash who invents this technology called Cypher, which set in the future was sort of like today's cryptocurrency. And so, you know, we were kind of trying to think, well, you know, I don't know how well this will resonate with, you know, marketing context. You know, we were talking about it in the marketing guild. And it wasn't just something that was landing well as a campaign or anything that we could do to promote Bankless. And so a few of us said, well, that's fine, but the story is really cool. Let's talk about it offline. So we just, you know, hopped on, created another server, and started talking about this universe in the future that we created, where basically what we did was we imagined if sort of central bank, central government, the way Web2, that sort of paradigm that we have today, largely in North America and other parts of the world. Imagining we extrapolated that, abstracted that into 10,000 years in the future. If that sort of model prevailed, what would it look like? And so we invented this future where all the planets, corporations came together and formed something called the centopoly, which is a large corporatocracy that basically manages the known universe through a central organized structure, and everyone aligns to one simple metric. So similar to social scoring in China, or your financial scoring, your credit score. Imagine all that was combined, but it was all aligned to one seemingly human mission, right? To propagate and progress humankind. That everyone would gravitate and say, yeah, I'll buy into the metric because the metric rewards you with better technology, better money, better. So we invented this metric that runs the entire known universe through this entity called the centopoly, which is basically an empire. And so that's sort of the way we see central banks, central governments today. Then there's Hash and the Cypherians, and Hash has invented this technology called Cypher, which raises the level of people's consciousness to a degree that allows them to understand that they're hooked on the metric, and that there might be other alternatives for the metric. And then the Cypher is also technology, a new financial system, and a new transportation system that can operate outside of the centopoly control. So it's this big, massive universe. We spent 8 months kind of laying the infrastructure about it, how it works, how it functions, what the metrics is. There's, we've written an entire report about how it works and how it functions and how it's designed, and how Cypher technology works. And we've just been building, kind of inspired by some of the storytelling ventures out there. So our main through line will be a set of comics. So, edition 1 to chapter 1, 2, 3, and so on. So we launched the universe, just a bit of a test market, just launched a website that was just espousing some of the philosophies between centopoly and the Cypherians through our lead characters, Malarian and Hash. You can see those now. I guess, Jay, you were talking, that's what you would have seen on the homepage. And so this Thursday, we're launching the first NFT, which is Thursday, you'll be able to go to legendsofcypher.io, read the book for free on a digital reader, or you can buy the NFT and then redeem that NFT for a physical book. And then you can sell it on the secondary market, of course, and then we'll have different windows so that in every window, if you've sold your book, you've already got the physical book and you sell it again on the secondary market, that second individual can still go ahead and redeem the physical book. So we'll be using windows to allow for multiple redemptions after the sellout in the secondary market. So the book is basically like, it's this turning point in the universe where mankind has first left Earth, probably, I think it's 6,000-7,000 years into the future, and we've settled the cosmos, but we've become overly dependent on AI. And there's a civil war between a part of humanity that wants to have less control from AI, and then those who want the comfort and control of AI, the comfort of AI. And then the battle ensues, and basically humanity destroys the AI control. And then so we go into sort of a dark freedom period. And that gives way to the rise of the centopoly, because those who were left without the comforts and convenience of AI control reestablish the centopoly as kind of the human mechanism that manages the AIs. But what is really true is that centopoly is just facilitating the metric for the AI. So we've just gone right back to this moment of time. So we thought before we started the through line, we wanted to start with this epic story that kind of introduces how humanity got to this point in time where we freed ourselves from AI, but then, created another opportunity for an empire to emerge, and then the centopoly. So it's the first book we're selling, the story. And then after that, we'll start selling the comics that tell the story of the through line for how Hash and the Cypherians try to save humanity from being hooked on the metric.
Some sounds like some Black Mirror stuff. You ever seen Black Mirror?
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally influenced by some Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cool story. And so I'm intrigued here, and I'm trying to figure out, you guys are basically like creating I don't even know what you call it, but let's call it like a Disney, but you're creating it like through NFTs / I guess a book as well.
Yeah.
You're basically creating a story from scratch. And
Yeah.
like eventually this could go into a movie or into a I don't know, some sort of TV series or something. What is the like, I guess right now you're launching NFTs. Are they of the characters?
The NFT will just be the book.
Okay. Just the book so far.
Yeah, it's actually on Rarible right now. One of the team just minted it on Rarible. So there's 536 editions available to buy on Rarible. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically like, we call ourselves a multimedia venture. So, digital books, physical books. The through line of the story will be told through NFTs, which would be your digital comics. So you'll be able to buy the NFT, download the PDF, similar to the Punks comics, and then redeem that for a physical version of the comic as well. And like we have a short film launching, which introduces the universe, which is kind of like a moving comic parallax type thing. So really experimenting and using different digital mediums to tell the story. But yeah, you're bang on. It's kind of like, we would be a Marvel universe, the Avengers universe, the Star Wars universe, except instead of starting with a film, we started with the infrastructure of the narrative. And then we're building the narrative from there. And our real hopes is that we build community around it. So as people come to enjoy the story that we're creating, we have plans to engage them in our Discord, in our community, through a process we're inventing called story mining, which will have different factions sort of participating in universe and competing for the opportunity to tell the story. And the different factions will have different philosophies, different ways they would approach the battle against Centopoly. So we see some real cool opportunities to, allow the community to shape where the story goes.
So the community is going to help. The community is going to help sort of build the story as it goes, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
That's the long-term plan. I think probably for the next, for the first 3 books, I'd say we're probably going to be very centralized.
Sure.
We'll run events. We have we're on events. So the way we'll test community engagement is through like backstory telling. Like we might say, hey, this leader of this faction, he's really cool. We're telling the through line, his involvement in the story, but hey, open to anyone to invent his backstory. Here's some parameters. Go tell a backstory, write it. And then what we would do is the winning idea, if somebody's submitting a short story with some pictures, maybe they collaborate with some teams, the community votes up the winning backstory, and then we would use our production capabilities that we built to launch the comics and the short films, et cetera, to launch what we call a legend version of it. So then we would take that individual's idea, share the revenue with them from the sale of the NFT of that backstory, but produce it in our style, in our format, so it has that high production quality that we'll be known for. But the story would be created by a community member, and they'd be remunerated for their efforts as the winner of the legend.
It's like an open sourced story, which I think is kind of mind blowing to me. This is super cool. I want to get into the business models of this, of like what else you're going to sell other than books. But first, this is all Web3 based. There is no revenues or sales or things happening from the Web2 world, is there?
None.
Wow. Super cool.
Our team is, we would be, if you think of decentralization as a scale, we're for more decentralization.
For sure.
We're for Web3. Yeah, like, we're minting on Ethereum mainnet. We consider Polygon for a minute, but no, pretty grounded in, we want the most secure platform for the product. Right. And, our eyes are on decentralization in the long run, but not kidding ourselves that, for the near term, we'll be driving much of the storytelling to make sure that people really understand the universe, and then gradually bring the community along the journey until such a time that we feel, hey, this story could be better told by community. I always make a joke to the team that we'll be the first. I'd like us to be the first entity accepting an Academy Award for Best Film, but it's a DAO.
That'd be amazing. That would be
Unreal.
amazing. So I always think about intellectual property and NFTs and how companies like Disney or whatever, or Marvel, like you said, how they're going to use their characters and put them on the blockchain kind of thing. Yeah. Will you, I don't really understand what the model is for this. I'm hoping you can kind of give me a framework, but like, do you create IP out of all the characters you're going to create through the story? And like, there's one NFT for those, or there's a collection of NFTs for each character? Like, how are you guys thinking through that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Everything we invent is a net new. We spend a lot of time doing it. Like we've been, for example, Malarian, who's the lead character for the Centopoly, or representing the Centopoly. We've been spending the last 6 months design. Like we've thrown out 3 designs of her just because we're not satisfied with the way she's coming out. We've got a good voice actress, as you've heard, that does the voice on the website currently. So yeah, we put a lot of effort. So the IP is really important. So eventually, as the characters get designed, we would do one-on-ones with them, but we wouldn't sell them because we'd want to retain the ownership within the Legends of Cypher universe for those main characters. So the IP for us is ours to hold, and the stories that we tell, we'll be selling them. But the characters and the storyline we maintain the intellectual property for. But then when selling the NFTs to the community, obviously they'll be allowed to use their own. They'll be able to do with what they choose with that product. We do plan to have a PFP. It's much later in the roadmap. We're sort of waiting for the technology to evolve because we want our PFPs to be more more like when you build a character in a game. So as you engage in our universe, if you've got a character from the Techno Mages, which is one of our factions, because that's your favorite faction. So you went and bought a PFP of a Techno Mage, but you build that Techno Mage by engaging with us. So you might participate in a community call 5 times. That gets you a new modification for your Techno Mage that could be added. So we want a sort of fungible, non-fungible kind of PFP so that our community can create a character that they can grow and evolve with, sort of like when you're gaining XP with a game character. So we're sort of watching the market and how the technology is evolving there. We don't want to build it from scratch. We want to see what gets built in the market. There's some interesting progress there.
So is the future of this going to be a game? Will you is that or something to do with the metaverse? Or
it's funny. That's what everyone says. It's like, so you're going to be a game? No, well, we might. We haven't thought that far. We've really only thought as far as every community member being able to create their own character and evolve it. But yeah, it could very well become some sort of game. We do have this idea of the different factions. So there's 4 different factions in the universe that kind of take up arms, if you will, against the Centopoly, that follow and support Hash and the Cypherians to free humankind from the clutches of the Centopoly's metric. And we want our communities to collaborate in these factions to help tell the story. Because if you're kind of aligned to the Techno Mage faction, you'll sort of have an idea, a philosophy, an ethos that will guide how you think we should win against the Centopoly versus the Scions of Ogo, which are more military based sort of organization that might want to use might. So we're sort of playing with this idea of different teams forming together, not so much the individual, but the gaming aspect, sort of something we're aware of, but we haven't given much thought to. So hopefully the community, since they all seem to want it, will come and inspire what a gamification of it could look like.
I was just going to say, it's kind of going to be up to the community, isn't it? Right. Like
Yeah.
those that are joining, they're going to sort of lead the direction of it.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. This is really cool. I just want to be clear. 3 years ago, you were working at a bank, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking
Yeah.
there. Holy.
Yeah,
You-
man. It's like some people think I went nuts.
Yeah, I can see. That's so funny. You went down the rabbit hole for sure. No, but this is incredible.
Straight in.
And I'm excited. This is, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about this, and he launched VFriends, which is the same thing, not the same thing, but similar, where he's trying to create characters of a story and become sort of like a Disney.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see how Web3 do this, because it creates the ability to have this IP and to have it community led and sort of open sourced.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be huge, and I feel like everything's going to lead to games. But that's just
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. Totally agree. We're all gamers.
I've got
Give us.
Yeah.
I've got to ask Devin, because I think, something that you clearly have an incredible ability of is the ability to make community in Web3, the ability to find projects to work on. I mean, it's amazing the number of things you've been involved with in such a short period of time. And I think that's one thing that a lot of our listeners and community we're trying to onboard so many people to Web3, and they're sitting there thinking, how do I get involved in a project? How do I get involved in the community? So would love to hear sort of from you, what would be your advice to our listeners who are looking for something and thinking about
Yeah. I mean, do some research. Well, I think there's the good news is there's a lot of research and write-ups out there now that kind of give you overviews of the different DAOs available, what they do. So that's really exciting. But the best way is you just got to get in there and find your way. Good DAOs like Bankless was great for this. They had people that were just really good at onboarding people. Like, if you're jump in a DAO do a little bit of research in the DAO, go through their startup page, make sure it's a mission vision you're interested in, validate for yourself that it looks like a community you could get involved with, and, just do that by just listening, watching, but then put yourself out there, try to be discovered, because good DAOs have good leaders that will be watching for people who are trying to contribute. And if you're struggling to contribute, good DAOs will have leaders that will help you through that and guide you into a productive engagement. So I think it's really finding one that you think you'll like, and then putting yourself on the line a little bit. You got to prove that's what I love about the space. You're trading up, applying for a job, and going through the process of being evaluated based on a couple of interactions to, well, you put yourself out there and you either show up and make it or you don't, right? So it's a different model. For me, it's a worthwhile trade-off when you're kind of your own agent, and it's really up to you and your capabilities.
This is in Discord you're talking about, right?
Yeah, find a DAO in Discord.
Right. So this is what's so interesting is, if you look at the real world, right? I mean, pre-internet, we used to have to go to store or business to business and hand in a resume.
Right.
And the internet allowed us to go to website and email in a resume. And now it's you just go into Discord, instead of emailing or contacting a store, you just literally go into the business and you see what's going on, what they're building, and you just start contributing. And you can just do this with a million businesses all at once in Discord. This is why Discord is so amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you just start contributing, and eventually you find your place or your role in one of these things that you're contributing in, if you stand out and if you provide enough skill. It's said. Incredible, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I really like your example of the difference between the typical interviewing process and the way to get involved now, Devin. That's great. And I also think it's one thing that I think, and maybe you can speak to this, is I do find though that a lot of people maybe aren't as comfortable in Discord, right? They maybe don't have that. So what would be your advice to somebody who's sort of maybe more comfortable on the sidelines? They don't want to be, they don't have that confidence to just get out there and put out their opinion. How would you tell somebody like that to get involved?
Yeah, find a leader that you think you could talk to and DM them. I definitely had a couple folks that DM'd me when I was when I was leading the marketing guild in the Bankless DAO, just for advice. Hey, how can I get involved? So, you know, if you're not comfortable talking in a big group, or you're not getting, or maybe you are talking in a big group, but you're not really getting attention, look for somebody you respect, you think could help you. Just put yourself out there that way. Just reach out, and I guarantee you, if it's somebody you're watching in the Discord and you think that is somebody I'd like to help me, chances are they're going to respond to your DM. So yeah, man, don't be afraid to reach out and just see if somebody will help you. I mean, I loved it when people would reach out and ask for some personal assistance, because, you know, it's easier to guide somebody in a one-on-one conversation than it is when they just joined the marketing guild meeting for a week and didn't say anything. Just I don't know how to get them engaged. But, you know, dialogue for me is always a big one. Just find somebody to talk to.
Find your frog monkey.
Find your frog.
So as we wrap up here, Jay, I know you want to do a speed round of questions, but real quick in the chat here in Discord, I just want to read out what there's a Jeremy here wrote. My wife loves fiction books, but she doesn't get NFTs. This is the first project I've seen that I think would get her excited to check out the space and be involved in a community. So it's really cool to see, you know, other things other than DeFi or, you know, Bitcoin to onboard people into the space, and it can just be a story, right? Which is really, really cool. But I think, Jay, you want to run some rapid fire questions. So Devin, if you're ready for that, we're going to fire away. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
I need
and
like
also, quick. So yeah, everything that we launch, we're going to allow to be read. So she'll be able to read the Rue 36 story. That's our first book. On a digital reader, go through the website, engage in the Discord if desired. But yeah, the book and the content's for free. The NFT is for people like us that kind of know what ownership means, right?
And this
awesome.
launches Thursday, right?
Thursday, yeah.
Okay, everyone, we'll have it in the show notes, whether you're watching on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, they'll be in the description and you can check out the website there.
Sweet.
Okay, let's get into the speed round. Let's start with this. Best thing you've purchased recently for under $100.
Under 100 on NFT wise?
Anything.
Oh,
but I like that your mind obviously stuck to Web3.
I'll say I bought an Eververse hoverboard.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Yeah. I bought that a few months back, and I've been getting some offers. So, and they're pretty sweet. Yeah, the Eververse hoverboard.
Okay, I think you got to change that question to we don't denominate in dollars anymore. We denominate in ETH. All right, so you're gonna have to ask that in under like 0.0
under
0.001
ETH. So wait, for listeners out there who don't know what that is, tell them what that is.
Eververse is Eververse. They've launched some hover. So I think Eververse is basically a metaverse platform that, and they've launched all these hoverboards. That's all I know. I just kind of read about it and like, that sounds cool. And the hoverboards looked awesome. And I was in the mood for buying NFTs, so I picked up a few.
Okay, cool. Favorite Web3 protocol?
I mean, besides Ethereum, because that's too obvious.
Yeah,
no, that's fine.
You know, I have to say Get, because my next venture, you know, guys know Get Protocol.
No,
I've heard of it, but I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, it's a Web3 ticketing platform. So they're basically building ticketing on the blockchain, but not just on the blockchain. So it's, you know, it's what I call a Web 2.5 provider. So there you can basically, if you're in the ticketing business, which we're getting partner mine and getting into, you can launch soup to nuts, an entire ticketing platform, and they're moving to decentralization, and you can mint your tickets on the blockchain. So yeah, Get Protocol's my favorite right now.
Sweet, cool. Weirdest or strangest DAO that you've heard
Weirdest
about?
or strangest DAO? Oh my gosh. I'm pulling up my Discord right now. Have a look.
It's a good way to do it. I like that.
Women and weapons. There's one called Women and Weapons. I can't say weird or strange, but different, right? Like they popped 246 notifications. So there's been a lot of activity since I've been there. But yeah, for me, that was fun because, the God is a Woman NFT community became very popular. And then I found it interesting that these ladies from Portugal launched this cool idea of women with weapons as a way to kind of, tell a different sort of story about women. But that was weird and strange. I haven't quite figured what they're all about yet. So I could call them weird and strange for now, but I do own a few.
Cool. Okay. Any final thoughts to share before we wrap up?
I'd say like for me that Web3 has become kind of a philosophy, like it's become a bit of a life purpose, and for people that want to get into it, there's lots of people that are just trying to make money in the space. Watch out for them. You don't have to spend a lot of time here to figure out the difference between the people that are here to make money and the people that are here, like you guys, that are here to make a community. Mm-hmm. This for me, if I think of the future of business, it's community. Mm-hmm. And this is such a great supportive community, right? So I think embrace the community side of Web3 more than anything, as much as it's a far superior internet than the one that is currently holding monopoly over so many people, like far superior on so many levels. What's actually really great about it is the fact that it's a community of people that have similar values and operate on similar principles. So embrace that.
Awesome. And for those listeners out there that want to hear more about your philosophies and your projects, where can they find you online?
Where can they find me? Mostly in Discord, Devin_S. I can't. My Twitter handle is @Devin Sawyer. So you can follow me. I don't tweet much, but I had a couple websites I was sort of trying to promote my own sort of advising consulting practice, but I just got too busy with projects that, all my web properties are my projects. So go to legendsofcypher.io, buy the Maru 36 NFT. That's where you'll find me.
There you go.
Love it. Devin, thanks so much for joining us. This was great. It's really interesting to hear someone who just has so quickly gotten as deep as you can get basically down the rabbit hole and has just transitioned so quickly too, which I think is what a lot of people are trying to do. So it's great to hear your story and how you're doing that and just seeing that it's working. So appreciate you coming on and sharing that.
Appreciate you guys having me, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds great. Thanks, Devin.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy. We hope this helps you along your Web3 journey. And if it does, please share this episode and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. By the way, if you've yet to join the Discord community, you are missing out. This is where all the magic happens. This is where we learn, where we ask questions, where we network. You want to be in there. The link to join is in the description below. And finally, a quick disclaimer. Nothing in this podcast was financial advice. Crypto and Web3 can be risky. You can literally lose it all. In fact, if you invest on account of what we say, you probably will lose it all. So don't do that. In all honesty, the point of this podcast is to remove the noise of markets and price and focus on utility and implementation anyway. So you should not take any of this as financial advice. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.